Town Hall Heroes. Happy birthday, Hello everyone, and welcome here to Town Hall Heroes, episode number 171. Dunk, if you type in Skype, it actually will appear over your face with this new update. It is unbelievably bad. So if you try to even tell me a message in secret, your whole face will just turn yellow, and it will. Just try it. Just type in Monkas. Give us a good Monkas.
All right.
Ooh, secret message. So spicy, so spicy. It has been a while, everyone.
That's such a bad system.
What did it do?
I don't know. And,
Oh dear.
This burning ship that is our voice chat program is fun to work with. But yeah, it's been many weeks as we have all been very busy. Dunk has started working with Heroes of the Dorm, and that is why we're having a show here on Monday, because you'll be going back out in just a few days. Bakery's also...
Sorry, everybody. My bad. My bad.
Bakery's been, doing a lot of new stuff as well with Dignitas, and we'll let them get their intros in. And I have been also in a very similar boat, just throwing feelers out everywhere as I'm in a... pretty busy stage of my life, I suppose, right now. But there's so much happening in the Heroes realm, and while initially when we launched the show, I thought we were going to be talking about mostly last week's patch and the Western Clash. Bunch of news came out involving hero reworks and what we're seeing with Sonya and Medivh. There was actually a Heroes QA recently. We're going to be talking about that. The voice check went live onto the live servers. We have other patch notes for other heroes like Ana to discuss. And certain heroes got patched like Thrall, where we'll talk a little bit about just like little tweaks that might have made a big difference with just via hot slog win rates and such. And of course, the Western Clash. I mean, Bakery literally flies out tomorrow. It is right around the corner. I'm gonna start with me. You know what's new with me? I'm in that stage of my life where I updated my resume for the first time in 5 years. Putting those feelers out, looking for jobs again, and actually just looking at other esports I could work with, because it's well, I mean, obviously got to pay the bills, and Warcraft 3 actually did receive a big update. I don't think the esports going to go anywhere, but it's like a nice new thing to have fun with. We don't know what's happening with that game, so that's what I've been doing, is playing Warcraft 3 and reviving my YouTube in the last few weeks. How about you, Dunk? What's new?
Oh man, for me, it's basically been all about Dorm. I've had to cut back on the streaming because basically every week I'm flying out to California to cast Dorm and then flying back. And between that and like research on the teams, because for me, Dorm is like mostly new. I was never super into Dorm before, so now I have to catch up on all like the storylines from past year's Dorm and like learn about teams and the colleges, and it's pretty crazy, man. Like people are super into college sports and esports, and it's awesome.
Dorm's a beast,
so,
man. It's a
that's what I've been doing.
Undertaking. I've been in those shoes before, and I'm glad it's been well received coming back to Twitch. No longer Facebook.
Yeah.
Overlord. Thank God. Thank God. Seriously. Bakery. What's good, man?
Not much. So been pretty busy with some stuff that you guys won't get to see, but a lot of cool stuff that you will get to see. So we're going to do like content and stuff at IEM for Team Dignitas, and a lot of that's going to be super cool. We've got some cool videos coming out over the next few days, some cool teasers, stuff like that, which is really exciting. And I'm really enjoying it. And that's about it.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Embracing the Dignitas life. Well, let's just jump right on into it. Voice chat was announced a while back, I think as far back as BlizzCon, then we finally had it on the PTR. And ever since voice chat was discussed as a thing, there was a lot of people crusading against it, right? They hadn't even experienced it, but people are just worried about basically toxicity becoming more of an issue. And if you're wondering what that means, a lot of that stems from people being worried about English maybe not being their first language, various accents they might be self-conscious about because dealing with global settings. I mean, I had people in my personal stream just saying, hey, look, I'm from the South or the Midwest or wherever, and they don't want people to call them a hick or what. Just, you know, some regions people are jerks and they will just latch on to an accent based on ethnicity, based on gender, everything. And there was a lot of arguments, you know, for and against it. And I honestly was, you know, politically, I'm not really too worried about the whole voice thing myself because I love accents. I love every different kind of voice. I think that's great. I'm not someone that's affected by that, male or female, whatever. I actually never thought about how much more interesting it could be to me just to hear someone's voice, like, oh, that's a child, or that's an old dude. Like, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it kind of makes the game feel more alive, right? It's a little bit more personal suddenly.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I did not plan to use voice chat in my Hero League experience. I said, I don't think I'm going to like that atmosphere on my stream. I don't want random voices being part of my personal space where I'm the entertainer in that setting. And every single game I've played has had so much less toxicity. It has been way more fun to play. And I can't believe at how much better it has made my Heroes experience. Truly, truly. How do you guys feel?
I feel similarly. Like, I never really understood arguments against voice chat in the first place. Like, I think it makes just way more interesting gameplay environments, and I think it lets the community build an identity more. Because if you think about playing a game with no voice chat and you only type, you're going to get a lot less communication between players, and also you have to turn to outside community things like Reddit to have any sort of community whatsoever. But I feel like in games that I've played in the past that have voice chat, that natural inclination to speak to people leads to, maybe community is not the right word, but a culture develops for each individual game. And that I really enjoy. So I'm a huge proponent of voice chat.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning down that same path. I think the big thing for me is that Hero League is crushingly lonely, like, at best, honestly. Like, it's really it's not a fun time unless you're trying to improve, or unless you're trying to, like, stream. Like, it's not fun otherwise.
Yeah,
and voice chat has seriously changed that for me. Like, it's not lonely. Like, there's actually people. Like, I'm playing the game with people. It feels so much better. And just the level of the game as well, I feel like has increased so much over the past week, basically, where voice chat's actually been in. Like, everybody's working together. There has been, I think, some negatives. I personally, surprisingly, have not experienced a single instance of flaming in voice chat. But obviously there have been people I've seen on Twitter and on Reddit who have sadly experienced that. But on the whole, it's a lot less than I thought I would see. And I'd say about 95% of the reporting I've seen is, wow, this is fantastic.
And to me, when I think back to, like, my voice chat experiences with other games, is I think why I was nervous about it to begin with and maybe not wanting to use it. And a lot of that stems from, I played a lot of Call of Duty many years ago. We're talking a decade ago. But I played a lot of Call of Duty on Xbox Live, and the average player base was, very, very toxic, very talking about my mom a lot. I don't know why they know so much about my mother, but it was really not a great time. And Overwatch was hit or miss. I feel like Overwatch was better because I think PC gaming culture is a little bit more mature than Xbox per se, right? And I think Overwatch still was hit or miss. I didn't do it too much, but there definitely was toxicity. But yeah, dude, like, I just love how now my team, the draft feels better because we're talking about things. So if somebody says, hey, I want to go this, there's a conversation as to, like, well, we kind of need clear, what about this? Do you own this? And my team is, there's back and forth. It's like, whoa, like, we're thinking as a team collectively. This is insane. And that alone is amazing.
Yeah, I think the one disappointment for me so far is definitely the kind of, like, how do you call them, like punishment systems relating to voice chat. I think having a fully automated system is never something I'm going to feel comfortable with and say like, yeah, that's about where we want it. And although to be fair to Blizzard, it does seem like it got a lot better. Like going back a few months ago, there were a ton of pro players that just get randomly silenced, a ton of community figures that get randomly silenced. And recently that hasn't happened. So there must have been some progress made, but it's always scary. Like fully automated, people can get punished like without doing anything wrong. I'd like to see some changes there. And the other change I have is that why would you issue a voice chat silence? Like if someone is being abusive on voice chat, then in my opinion, that is like a special kind of person that has no place playing Heroes of the Storm. At least short term. Like, you know, I'm thinking 2-day suspension, 1 week suspension, like ranked suspension, like and voice suspension. Like I don't know. Like to me, I just don't really like the sound of having like a voice chat silence and say, yeah, it's fine. You know, you just need a slap on the wrist. Like I really think if someone's abusive in voice chat, if you're abusive in text, it's very much character to character. If you're abusive in voice, it's person to person. You are being a dick. Like
that's true. That's true.
I don't see that as a redeemable quality, like whatsoever.
I also think you're more likely if you are a person who is overall a good, like if you are overall a net positive to the like online experience, right? You are more likely to have a bad day and end up saying something toxic in text than be abusive on voice, if that makes sense. Like you're more likely to take that small step to be abusive in text, so a smaller penalty makes more sense.
I agree.
For text, whereas in voice, I feel like to cross that line and to like actually be abusive in voice is like you actually probably are consistently a problem human being. And deserve.
Yes.
Well, like Bakery said, it's person to person. You're no longer your avatar. You are a human in that moment, right? And I think that is definitely a different level when it comes down to things. Beyond that, too, it's nice to see people enabling plays that just weren't happening via pings, because people don't follow pings. People are very receptive to the conversations. There was namely one of my first games I played. Just snap second, saw an opportunity for a pick, whole team went for it the moment I made the call with a sense of like urgency in the voice, right? And people can hear that human emotion, like kill top now, we win. And when team does that, it just feels, it's really satisfying for the whole team, because like we're able to make that call, get the kill, win the game. And it's been a super positive experience. So obviously
I actually play the game with voice chat. I play an NA server. It's one of my placements, okay? It's this insane game where we go down 3 levels, but all 5 of my team is on voice. Everybody's talking. Everyone's like, they're not very good. Like, we are better than them. Like, we actually have this game. So everyone was super, like, involved. We fought our way back. We end up with, like, a 30% core when they, like, wipe on a push, like 20-20. We go to their core, and, like, I see catapults moving. I'm like, throw back right now. He goes back. He saves the core on 1% from the catapults.
That's amazing.
Oh my god, it was the best feeling, dude. It was the best feeling, honestly.
That's awesome,
dude. That's so hype. And yeah, it's making Heroes a better game. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to see where it goes, see what kind of responses they make to muting players and so on and so forth. Obviously, people have asked for players that are silenced, like you said, to have that carry into voice. Should be a separate thing, I think, for sure. Does that exist now? I don't think so. But you can still mute them on your own. It's easy to do, and I'm pumped about it. But we do have a ton to talk about tonight, so let's keep steam rolling forward into actually just something a little bit fluffier, and the fact that people have data mined some content from the PTR. We're going to talk about the PTR in a moment, but there has been some content data mined. And you know, as far as we know, this is totally legitimate, but the photo that we can see is actually just this Deckard Cain library, the cathedral, I suppose it is. So if you watch the Diablo 3 cinematic, that's Deckard Cain, right? That's sitting in the cathedral, in that desk. And in the cathedral, you see Leah and you see Deckard Cain. And this totally doesn't look like 1080p, but that's what we're gonna do. So the guess is Leah is literally Diablo. We already have Diablo, and we even have the female, the primeval Diablo,
the special skin.
Yeah. So chances are, they're not gonna make like a crossbow Leah as a hero. It just doesn't seem compelling, relevant enough for a new hero launch. They'd be more likely to make a random townsperson that is like the blacksmith or something a hero than Leah, in my opinion. But
I like the blacksmith.
But Deckard Cain is a pretty commonly asked for hero. All right, Dunk, how do you feel about the potential of Cain coming to the game?
So Deckard Cain is a hero that people have been speculating on, like when are we getting him, blah blah blah, since the beginning.
Literally since Alpha. I've been
literally
seeing
since
these
Alpha.
stats,
And like honestly, I'm just not really excited for him. Like we don't have any solid like evidence of what style his combat capabilities would take, and I honestly think he's better, like because of his lore and who he is to the Diablo storyline, like he's better as a non-combat character in my opinion. And I would rather have seen them implement any additional primevals or like dozens of other characters before taking Deckard Cain and potentially making him an actual playable hero.
Bakery?
Okay, so I really want to look something up, but I'm not gonna have time. So basically, I think around this time of year is generally when Blizzard tries to release a really kind of dumb hero.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
not
think the Lost Vikings were 2015. I don't remember if anything was 2016, but this time last year it was Probius.
Yep.
So
that's true.
If it is Deckard Cain, which it really does look like Deckard Cain from that image, I'm not even going to talk about anyone else, honestly. Then I'm expecting like a weird hero, honestly. Like, you know, like he sits in forts all the time or something, and like he's like Abathur, but he moves to forts and he sits inside them. And
I'm
I
so
don't know what he
worried
does.
about that, dude.
But like,
we just don't need another.
I actually agree with Dunk though. Like seriously, like for me, it's really unfortunate the way they do maps. In my opinion, like I've always kind of disliked it, but the way they do maps is they like clump them. So it's like 2 Diablo maps, 2 StarCraft maps, 2 Overwatch maps, like Warcraft's next. You know, like because I think Deckard Cain is a fantastic map objective. Honestly, like I think he's a great character. I really enjoy him. I enjoy his voice actor a lot, actually. And I think as a map objective, or like, you know, like a map announcer, like the random scientist clerk guy on Vaxis, you know, I think that's a great place for him. But I'm not excited about him as a hero, honestly.
Something interesting to note, if you look at the stained glass windows, in this image, it's like the Dragon Knight, which is the same image used in the Hanzo and Alexstrasza castle trailer. It's still, I'm guessing it's still probably a Diablo character because the art style shows like the Diablo style books, but in the Reddit thread, someone noticed and posted a screen cap that the backside, like the stained glass windows you're seeing out of, are not the ones used in the Diablo cinematic. They're the ones used in the like Hanzo Alex Dragons of the Nexus thing. Yeah.
Sun and the Moon and Dragon.
Just I still think it's a Diablo character, but like I don't know, maybe it'll be an Overwatch character and we don't have to have Cain.
Oh god.
It's better? Clearly a Diablo character. There's no way it's not. I do like the touch of the random hero seals on some of the books and stuff. There probably is other hidden tidbits within here.
Random what?
There's like the heroes logo on some of the books.
Oh, there is, huh? And on the desk, it's like,
hey, hang on.
That's neat.
Let me open it out.
Yeah. So
you have to like expand the image. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty small image, right? This isn't a high resolution photo by any means, so it is hard for us to really kind of dive in. But you know, that's something potentially in the future. Maybe he could be. I don't know anything about Deckard Cain lore wise, right? Does he ever? He never fights, right? He
No.
just kind of like
No.
So maybe he's like some kind of support that uses scrolls or something. Maybe like a buff type hero.
Come on, let's not talk about it.
Yeah,
Like,
who knows? Who knows? But if that's what it is, I'm sure they will have a reveal at Katowice, because that's when Probius was announced, was during Katowice. All the lights went out and you heard when a pylon came on, and it was
that was actually probably, there was so much potential. All the pro players were sat like next to each other. Duncan knew that as well, actually. Like, everyone's so excited. I was like, oh, come on, like, dude, all the lights go off, this is gonna be so hype. And then it's a probe, and everyone's like,
yeah, not like this.
They see the pylon get built, and they see the photon cannon, and they're just like, nope. We got cannon rushing, boys.
Dude, especially when the hero trailer built it up so much as like a Gasly type hero.
Yeah, as a builder.
Everyone was like, no.
Didn't they explicitly say bad, honestly? They said builder, I think, too.
They said builder.
And the trailer was like, no. Oh, gosh.
Well, chat's got it unlocked. It's going to be an SCV that just builds bunkers. So
Dude, I'm really disappointed. They didn't pick up on the opportunity to just have Probius have like a drone and SCV skin. Like, come on. You could have done it as a StarCraft event. Like,
yeah.
But then you have to reskin all his structures. Like, that's such a pain.
You got to make
but you could make them like the proper expensive ones. I'd buy them, honestly. I don't often buy very many skins. Prime Evil Diablo, pretty much the only expensive one I wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mechaterial. I love Mechaterial.
Mechaterial's legit. Well, we obviously got that data mine from the PTR, and the PTR is where we're going next with this discussion. Before we get to that, there was actually a QA that came out earlier this week, and Blizzard kind of it's the first time they've ever done a video, as far as I can remember, akin to what they do with Kaplan in Overwatch, where they kind of sit down and then just talk it. But this is more of an interview style with Cloaken, sitting down and going over like what's next for the game. And what do you guys?
There was actually a developer update around Heroes 2.0 with just Anandaberry, but never.
Yeah, they did it like once. Yeah.
10 months ago. I think he said it would be a regular thing as well. But I'm glad we got another developer update Q&A going on.
What did you think about the QA overall?
I think it lasted 9 minutes, and at first I was like, developer Q&A, oh my god, like, this is really good communication. And then it wasn't really a Q&A, in my opinion. I think
it's more of a
from
PSA.
From a branding like style, I think developer update Q&A was not the right way to go. I think that raised a lot of people's expectations. If you go with something probably more low-key, like developer roundtable, Hero Reworks or something like that, like, then I think the video is super cool. It was a really nice update. It was a good look into what they were thinking, like update on what was coming, as well. So I thought it was really nice. But from a branding perspective, it was a bit of a letdown.
It wasn't. Yeah, Q&A strikes as like fan questions, being answered.
Agreed.
So it wasn't really that. But I'm always in support of more communication from the devs, like what they're planning, how they feel about the game state, all that sort of stuff. Always happy to see any additional content they want to put out about that. So
yeah, in
that way, it's a step in the right direction.
The big things they talked about in the QA were the Sonya and Medivh reworks, which we're going to in just a moment. They also mentioned Lunara is kind of being looked at. For example, they referenced that, Wisp being a kind of boring ability and having its own talent tier for a lot of people it's just like it's not that exciting. So we might be seeing Lunara get the Wisp move to a 1, akin to like a Bone Shield or whatever on Zul. And that maybe they'll give her a new ability. What that is, we have no idea. I think there's some interesting potential with the whole Dryad spell armor thing, so maybe they'll toy with that, but who knows. And then they talked about Hanamura updates. They said it's going to be a single payload that gets pushed tug of war style across the map. It's what they're testing internally. It doesn't mean it's what we're going to get to play or what's going to be final, but they're still tinkering with that. And they really talked about battleground updates a lot, which is something that I was surprised about. They really seem to emphasize, like, we're looking at all battlegrounds, and you'll be seeing not only changes, but like you know, that's going to be a big patch. Instead of like a hero release, this patch is going to be like, all right, here's what we've done to Blackheart's Bay, or here's what we've done to whatever map. What were your thoughts on that, James?
James.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So yeah, about the Hanamiya changes in particular, they also said that they were testing being able to attack the core directly, which was like, okay, it's a completely different map. I'm so down. I was thinking about this the other day. I miss the aesthetic so much. You know I did flame it for having not enough pink trees. I still think it could do with more, but I really actually enjoyed the aesthetic of Hanamiya. I actually miss it legitimately.
Yeah. I mean, it's bright. It's colorful. So many maps are gloomy. Like
exactly. Even Towers is my favorite map's pretty gloomy, but yeah. So it sounds like they're kind of happy with the direction it's going, and hopefully it's back soon. Now we don't know if this means that one of the upcoming, most likely Warcraft 3 maps, is going to disappear, and we're going to get Hanamiya 2. And then just one Warcraft map, and then like another 6-month gap or something, you know. But either way, I'm actually really looking forward to new Hanamiya if they get it right. And about the second part of that question, which is updates to Battlegrounds, months and months ago, there was a Q&A where there was an answer, and it's the most upvoted answer in the Q&A, which is, yeah, we're actually going to be doing regular Battleground updates, just like we do with our heroes. They're like really important, and I think there's a lot of room for us to do stuff there. And it just never came. And now they announced it a second time in classic Blizzard fashion at this point. You know, voice chat BlizzCon 2017, voice chat BlizzCon 2016, 2017 as well. That's finally out. They're going to do the same things with the Battleground reworks, I'm sure. So I'm actually really looking forward to that as well.
Do you actually think Battleground reworks or additions add a lot to the game? I'm kind of at the point where I feel like there's already almost too much variety in maps and like too much to learn, I think, if you're a new player, in terms of how many maps there are and how differently they play. Like, I'm not sure that it's, you know, efficient for your dev time, if that makes sense.
Like, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think some maps really suck.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, for example, I think Towers. I don't know what's changed exactly because I haven't worked out how it looks different from when it did before. But Towers was by far my favorite map. Like every game of Towers, I was like, yes. Like I had a great time. Even if I lost, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. But since the 2018 gameplay update, I've never felt like that. I felt like generally everyone's reflecting that as well. Mm-hmm. Cursed Hollow's another one where people, again, like the pick rate is way down in HGC. A lot less people saying it's their favorite map. So I think there's definitely room to go back to Cursed Hollow, go back to Towers, give it some small changes in regards to how like mercenaries spawn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And actually improve the gameplay experience.
Dude, I hate how cookie cutter that map is. Sorry.
Yeah, continue. Same. But I don't think. Like a rework for Blackhearts, I'd love it. A small rework for Garden, I'd love it. Rework for Praxis and Warhead, yes, please give it to me. Blizzard. But yeah, like generally, I would just like to see small changes, like adapting to how the maps play, adapting to the meta, just like a gentle nudge in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm personally still a big fan of the idea of retiring maps. I think, like Dunk said, there's still way too large of a map pool, and some maps should simply be retired from normal play, maybe not quick match, if they want to keep them there. But that's something that StarCraft 2 always did. Their latter seasons would introduce new maps and retire old maps. And like some maps would just straight up be retired. They're not coming back. And they might revive them like 2 years later, right, in the meta. But secret message. I think a lot of the the thing that struggles for new players and heroes is the fact that the maps are a big part of the balance, right? People like often forget that, but it's not just hero balance. Map balance is a huge part of the game. You look at Smash Brothers Melee, Brood War. These are games where the metas were largely defined by the stage pool in Melee in the map pool in Brood War. And as they made better and more interesting and newer maps in Brood War over the year, the meta shifted. And they literally balanced the game via maps, which is super cool. And that's also true for something like Heroes of the Storm. But when you have this crazy big map pool, sometimes it's really tough. It's really tough to A, learn and maintain, and B, make everything feel 100%, especially competitive, right? We don't want Haunted Mines. We don't want Black Ops. There's a reason. But do they need to be reworked for that, or do we just need a new map? I don't think they need to be reworked. I just think we need a Warcraft map. But
I also think map reworks are like a shot in the dark. It might turn out better. It might not. Historically,
okay, real talk. Real talk has been caught. The map team in Heroes of the Storm, in my opinion, has not been doing an amazing job over the past, let's say, 2 years. Like 1 year, 6 months. Like the last map that I would say, yeah, that's pretty good, was honestly Towers of Doom. And that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like that's a really long time ago.
I would agree with that.
I think Braxis is bad. I think Warhead's bad. I think Hanimura is obviously terrible. And then, honestly, like Volskaya, I quite enjoy the map, but just in terms of design, like it's not very good. The objective is literally, if you're ahead, someone has to run and AFK on the point for 1 minute. Like that's the design of the map. Like it plays okay because they got the 3 lanes and they got the geography right, but the objective itself, in my opinion, is not well designed. So hopefully something's changing. Hopefully, because like when they rework a map as well, like we had reworked Haunted Mines, and that was also terrible. So like hopefully.
The roller coaster that was Garden
reworked Garden got worse than the previous Garden. Yeah. And that already wasn't good. So I mean, like I think honestly, if the map team can sort it out, then at that point you start revisiting maps and you start doing reworks. Because like Dunk said, like right now, any new map and any map rework is literally a shot in the dark of, well, like let's hope it works. Like,
it feels terrible that literally all of the new maps, I see it in Hero League and I get upset. It's like, really, I have to play Volskaya, I have to play Braxis, like, you know, any of those opportunities, it feels bad. And some of those maps, I think some of the flaws are, like you mentioned, the objectives are very linear. They're not that compelling when it comes down to the strategy that comes into play for fighting over an objective. Like, it's literally just raw team fight over this point, have fun. Like the Merc camps, like, having the siege camp at top, whatever. But Braxis is super linear. Draft a dominant solo lane, fight over bottom, control the points. Like, it doesn't end up feeling all that compelling strategically, both in the draft and in gameplay. And I think those are the bigger problems, whereas Towers is the last one that really feels like it's anyone's game to win. It's different. It's got lots of opportunities. Nowadays, yes, the sappers do spawn very often, and that can feel really oppressive at times. If you're losing, you just lose really hard in that bottom lane specifically, and that is, you know, definitely a problem. But I'm glad to hear they're going to be putting some resources into addressing that, and you know, not only just coming out with a small rework, but then announcing it. Like, look, this is the map that we've tuned, and here's why we think it's going to be better.
Yeah.
But did they talk about one more thing, or no? No, that was it. Except for the hero reworks, of course, which we're getting to.
I don't remember any other big points.
Well, after that, like a day later, and I'll be honest, I skimmed this article. Red Bull announced that they were going to be involved in all of the future announcements, which is...
So Red Bull Esports, by the look of it, is just growing its content division or something like that.
Okay.
So they've decided, like, we're going to sign this deal with Blizzard. Every time that Blizzard release a rework or a new hero, Red Bull is going to get some inside access and release at the same time as Blizzard do. Cool news. Hopefully it means like more talking. So today they released an article. I think Matt Cooper and maybe someone else, I don't have time to read it, basically gave some thoughts on how they did the reworks for Medivh and Sonya and like what they were thinking and where it could have gone. So it was pretty cool content, it seems.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I will definitely read that.
I mean, I read it. It felt a little fluffy, but that's to be expected. It was fine. They just mentioned a few things. An interesting thing they said was that they are intentionally pulling back from quest talents. Like, they mentioned when they first started putting them in, they put like too many in, like Thrall.
Yeah.
Chromie got some, Jaina got, like the innate stuff. So even though they're giving Medivh an innate quest talent, like it is something in the future they're thinking about that they think they have perhaps too many.
I think that's solid actually. Like,
I
mean, I think quests are interesting, but quests like have to be important for them to work. And when you put so many in, then none of them are important. So
right. I do like the
like
trait.
I think Alarak nailed it, honestly.
Yeah, I like the sadism, the way the trait is tied into it. I do like those ones the most, I think. Like Diablo Souls, like it's not necessarily a quest talent, but it's still a continuous narrative of the impact. And I do like that kind of design.
Yeah, I think Diablo did a good job as well with his trait and also his 13, because then it's actually important to charge it up. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll need a rework though. God, he has got one build. He is pretty darn linear. A few swaps.
Yeah,
but he's.
I mean.
But
yeah,
speaking of the reworks, because we do have to plow on into them, we do have the upcoming Sonya and Medivh gameplay updates on the PTR. I have not tested any of this myself. Have you guys tinkered?
I have not had a chance yet to play them on PTR.
I haven't either.
So first thing to point out is the fact that Blizzard made these little tiny bite-sized rework videos. And I want to commend Blizzard for being like, this is a February 2018 update for Sonya. They're announcing it here, saying, look, guess what? There's this new content. They're giving her like a new skin to go with it to kind of draw attention to it. That's something they addressed in the QA they want to do. We complained about it recently with Malfurion, namely, people just being completely unaware that Malfurion had received these big changes. And I think this is a really good step. I hope there's an in-game indicator, like a shine around their portrait or something when you're selecting your hero that is kind of drawing to attention, because these are great things, but there's still going to be a ton of people that don't ever see these videos.
Well,
but...
no, so it's actually kind of already in the game for Quake Match, at least. Like when you hover here, it's had changes. It pops up with high estimated wait time in Quake Match.
I mean, thanks, James. Something similar to that would be great, though. Like this hero has been reworked, like whatever. An orange border.
No,
I don't
definitely agree.
So let's talk about Sonya. TLDR, they thought Sonya was in a decent position as an aggressive bruiser style hero, but her build diversity simply wasn't there. So that's something that they wanted to improve. And as a result, she has talents that, vastly improve her Q and cooldown reduction in range, big updates on the splash from her W, and basically trying to build a variety of builds. Naturally, you look at Composite Spear, that's gnarly, dude, and the new splash damage on Shattered Ground. That's going to be pretty impactful for confirming kills in some cases and just general splash in a lot of settings, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like Sonya's kind of got a whole bunch of buffs with these changes. Like, she's just got a lot of talents that kind of had multiple effects rolled into them. And like they changed to her block talent, where now it's like cooldown's faster while Fury is active because it's character specific. They have to do something character specific about it. And it's like, I feel like a lot of the talents she got were just like actually just power level increases.
It feels like it, to try to compensate and bring her some variety in the meta. I'm just scrolling down finding Sonya.
I mean, like follow through moved, shot of Fury moved to 7, but
Generic
now
counts.
it gives you follow through and it
right.
also gives you shot of, like that kind of thing,
Yeah, they just kind of tidied things up to give you more opportunities. And like some of these other nerfs that we've seen in the recent patches, like taking away a little bit of damage, nerfing Poison Spear, those all make a lot of sense now to tie those nerfs in, because if they were still at their other power, stacking that on top of where she is here would be pretty scary. It's so hard to say like what's going to be meta for her though, honestly. And I think the nice thing is I think you probably will see a good bit of variety. You can spec it to the Q and be more of an auto attack style with the Qs and the autos, or you can try to be more like, she has multiple slam talents. The additional one of them is called like Giant Slammer or something.
Yeah, Giant Slammer.
Yeah, literally Giant Slammer. So that's percent based damage at level 16, which will be.
I mean, honestly, I think I don't know why that number's 2%.
Yeah,
So,
that
think it should be
seems
more.
really low.
Yeah.
so like normal giant killer's 1.5 already. Seismic Slam, like, it is now a 1 second cooldown, but like
It's not
giant
auto attack.
killers is much worse on a hero with 1 auto a second than it is
Right.
anyway.
Right.
And she can only cast like 3 of them, and then she's out of Fury anyway. So it does seem like a bit of a low number.
It-
But
Chad is pointing out that
especially for a
it does splash. So theoretically, you could hit 5 people
yeah,
with it.
I guess, yeah.
But it's interesting though. It's still more, meaningful damage if you're really speccing into the W. With the splash, it's just going to give you that much more value. Any?
I think for me, I haven't played Sonya. I'm not a Sonya player. I'm not like an expert by any means, but it feels to me like when you play W build, this is very much a build where you want to slow roll. You want to be at the front of your team, and you want to be basically permanently hitting the enemy front line or tanks or whatever, as opposed to being bursty or playing like as a full tank. But when you play that kind of build, survivability becomes the most important thing, and they've layered a lot of these W talents, in my opinion, against survivability things. Like, so level 1, 2 survivability talents and a W talent. Level 4, 2 survivability talents and a W talent. Like level 16, it's Nerve of Steel, which is always super important, and okay, at least the other one is damage. But again, like if you're playing W build, defense is the most important stat. So to me, it does seem like a bit of a flaw in the design, but we'll have to see how it plays out, because I could be pretty off base on that one.
Fair points. It seems like an interesting update for her, though. I think I'm excited to see the diversity and what people come up with. I don't think it'll change her place in the game too much, but could be very wrong with that if she becomes a god in lane or something.
Yeah.
But like just reading some of these, like the Merc damage instead of Merc Lord, obviously Sonya's gonna be decent in the jungle, but can she solo a boss with that? Maybe. I don't know. But that's gonna be. Speaking of bosses, really quick, I'm gonna inject this random tidbit in here. Somebody posted on Reddit, and I haven't confirmed that it's real or not, that on Warhead Junction, if you farm the little banelings that come out of the boss, they actually give like a ton of XP each, and it's more efficient than laning. Have any of you guys tried that out yet?
I don't think it's more efficient than laning. So you can kill about 5, it seems. So it's 5 times 100. Depending on level, minions tend to be about 80, I think, around the time he was showing, and you get 7. So 7 times 80 versus 5 times 100. I'm not a math major, but I think the lane's still more.
I mean, the boss spawns them more quickly is the thing than once every 30 seconds.
So if you could pull someone out of lane solo,
I don't
like
think you can soak, but I think it's like you soak the lane, then you go to the boss.
Yeah.
You run away from it until it does them. You farm 1 wave, and then you go back to the minion wave.
Makes sense.
So this would be like if you're winning your top lane hard, you're going to be able to get additional soak off the boss's minions, and then you go back and push your lane out. And then
I think so, yeah.
Huh.
So I think it's pretty cool, but I don't. The title was "This is better than soaking your lane," like.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It can allow you to win your lane harder, but should they give XP to begin with?
No, probably not. I don't know why they do.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, who gave that an XP value? Actually.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go away before long. Now that
it's as soon as it gets used somewhere visible.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, sadly it won't be, because the map's thankfully been taken out of the rank rotation.
That is true. That is true.
And the HGC rotation. So.
Well, quick match members, this is your time. Your time to shine. Farm those minions. Pull that Rexar out and get in that lane. All right,
There you go.
Medivh also getting some changes. They talked about Medivh feeling oppressive to play against with the constantly the protected, by the way, in his kit. Also being forced to go Master's Touch to feel relevant in the damage at level 7. Very commonly picked talent. Don't know the pick rate. Very high regardless. So Medivh is getting a little bit more baseline health and regeneration. They're putting that Master's Touch baseline, but nerfing the Arcane Rift as a result. It's still going to exist the same. They're not changing Master's Touch. It is just default on his Q. So when you complete it, his Q is going to be a bit stronger. Nice thing here is you start farming it up from level 1. So if you do have that game where everyone runs mid and they all clump up, you're farming up your Master's Touch right away, and that's going to be really punishing to the enemy team if they give you those kind of opportunities. And even like a 4-1 split on like Braxis, you're going to get a ton all game long in those 4-1 rotation or split type games. So that'll be really cool. Force of Will, they brought the cooldown up to 8 seconds from 5, but now it will absorb up to 20% damage as healing, which will be really quite nice, more rewarding. So they've buffed it and nerfed the cooldown, which I think will feel much better to play against and much more rewarding to the Medivh that lands a good W, rather than Wing in the off chance
Basically
that something happened. Yeah, like just like all the time. And lastly, they brought the cooldown on the portal down because they want to give him more utility. And there's a bunch of talents that let him use that portal in his Raven form or in just hit both locations. They actually put the first portal location on 1 and the other half on his E, so you can actually snap drop it in 2 spots at once for the portal when you have more control on it, giving him more micro opportunities with his play, which is really cool.
And I'm so glad they did that, by the way.
Yeah, it's actually a big deal. Like it creates a lot of creative opportunities, I think, for the Medivh. But overall, yeah, what do you guys think about Medivh? Let's start with you, Bakery.
So, I mean, honestly, my initial reaction is, if you're going to rework Medivh, and you have literally not done a single balance change to Medivh since he released, almost 2 full years.
Wait, really?
You just left him alone. Wait, I think it's
there's been like a couple
some number
changes.
tweaks. Yeah, some number tweaks. Yeah,
not significant.
Okay. Anyway, you've basically left Medivh alone. And I feel like if you now go, okay, we're going to rework him, then I would hope that you're going to it's going to be big and it's going to fix a lot of what I see as his issues. But that honestly doesn't really seem to be the case. It seems to be a very much like changing as little as we can. How do we make this hero swap from frustrating to bearable? Seems to be like the direction. So if it was me reworking with Medivh, then I think I would have probably focused around his portal and allowing enemies to somehow stop allies going through the portal, whether damage counts with the channel. I think that's too aggressive. Whether they can channel it themselves, but it takes twice as long for them to go through. Something like that. Because there's still a lot of situations in Medivh's kit where there just is no counterplay. Like, oh, wow, we're going to catch a Medivh. We've got a whole team surrounding him, ETC slides, like, he puts the protector on at the right time. You don't attack him. He casts the portal. Oh, he's gone through the portal and he's mounted up at the other side because no one can get to him. Like, it's still like, it's still tons of situations where the changes have had no effect on how that plays. So yes, he does have more counterplay, and that is the area they targeted. But I still really would have liked to see bigger and more ambitious base kit changes than increasing the cooldown on W and rolling Master's Touch baseline.
I mean, they basically added his 2 best talents into his base kit at like some marginal cost in power, and then gave him like even better talents on those tiers. I don't see how he's not like ridiculously broken after this change. Like, the new Raven's Intellect is way better. The new Portal Mastery is way better. The Bird's Eye is better, like, because you can just reveal stealthies for free now. It does the same thing as before. Like, Arcane Explosion now, have you read that talent? So before it did damage the first time you take damage, now it's when the shield ends and it absorbs damage. So it's like, I mean, and that value, 90 plus 365, is like a third of Vala's max HP.
Yeah,
I mean, on a bruiser or something, like this hero is going to be so busted.
Raven Familiar, 2.5 second, 30% slow every time you come out of a portal, and before that was one Raven,
and
now you can go in and out and in and out and in and out of that portal.
Lost Vikings Medivh, I'm calling it. You pick Raven Familiar, you have like a juggling act going on where they all come through and just keep slaying them, like tons of bonus damage.
It's crazy. There's a lot of crazy things here. And, you know, actually, I wanted to ask you guys, were you surprised that they didn't make any changes to his mount? Cattle even just popped in the chat saying, look, you got to slow down his mount speed and you got to make him unable to mount for a short time after taking damage or something. Maybe technically his animation for the mount is a little bit longer. We're talking like 10% longer than a normal animation. Probably.
Maybe 50%. Like,
really? You think
it is pretty beefy longer, I feel. I mean, maybe
it's like an extra half second, I think, maybe.
I don't even think it's that much.
I think it's pretty beefy, but like the time to mount doesn't matter because as soon as he mounts, it's over, and the time to mount isn't enough for someone to get from one end of the portal or the other
and be invincible too. Like he's invincible, so like, do you think?
As soon as he mounts, it's over. Like as when someone else mounts, they still have to start running, like, and they're still runnable during that time.
So Caterpillar in chat said, you know, maybe they should slow down his mount speed and punish his ability to mount somehow. Do you think that would be reasonable, considering he has portal movement, cheaper, you know, less cooldown already? If he needs that movement, he's got the options with the portal. His mount literally is invincible and permanent info. You could, by removing its mount speed, you could actually get away from it maybe and like hide information. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's unchanged, right?
Yeah, they didn't touch.
Someone confirmed 50% longer.
All right, you win.
Maybe I'm.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure how you fix him. Like, I think his kit, he's just fundamentally going to be ridiculously frustrating in pro play.
I think honestly, it's literally you let people follow him through the portal, but it takes 30% longer.
Enemies, yeah.
Because that way, like, every scenario I can think would be solved by an 8-second cooldown force of will and being able to follow him through the portal. Like, every frustrating scenario, I think, you know, screw Medivh, I really dislike this character, would be solved by doing that.
And for all
even if they can't channel, just making them able to block it, like, realistically,
or like stand on it or something, like
yeah.
Maybe the portal can only be entered from one side or something, not every angle. So body blocking becomes like a relevant thing. Yeah, I don't know. That would be interesting, I guess. It's tough. And people at home might be thinking, well, you could just draft so you can deal with Medivh. That's not good. We don't want to have to draft roots on Malfurion just so we can deal with a Medivh or something, right? There are tools that you can punish portals.
It's less about that. It's just he's frustrating. It's not even like he's good enough to want that. It's just I don't want to play against him. Like,
yeah.
And his kit is inherently going to be that way. I mean, one direction portals might work.
In terms of the getting in and out?
Yeah.
Like targeting the portal?
Yeah, I mean, overall, that also, honestly, it sums up my thoughts. It's like, I was so excited for Medivh rework when they said it, and it just feels like they didn't go nearly far enough, in my opinion. I would have really liked to see some deep dive, like, this is the frustrating thing here. We're going to change his base kit, like, actually. I think, honestly, the Anna changes are probably going to be more impactful to her than either of these reworks were for these heroes. In terms of how they're played.
Crazy, honestly, to think that they hype these up as like these big reworks. They are sizable changes to the way their talents work. So when it comes down to the amount of work that was put into these two heroes, it probably is far greater than what they did to Ana. Ana's more like numbers and like effect,
but it doesn't
these
change
heroes
their playstyle as much.
Right. Yeah, whereas these have opened up new talent tiers and stuff, which is why they put a lot more emphasis into it. But like you're saying, they're fundamentally going to be the same. Sonya's still going to be an aggressive bruiser, right? That's dealing solid damage in different ways now. And Medivh is still going to be this utility support, off support, whatever type hero that enables your team to do other stuff. But Ana, as you mentioned, is receiving the ability to heal herself. All of her strike damage will heal her by 50%. And dude, Dunk, you're the Ana master himself. Like this is a big deal.
Am I like a terrible person if I say I would have rather just never gotten that self heal if it means my healing is reduced by 10%, my range is reduced by 1/6, and my spell power reduction at 7 is reduced by a third? Because I think if you add all those up, it's actually more of a nerf.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I was really excited, guys, because we do have an issue on Town Hall Heroes where me and Dunk we just think alike. We're just chill guys who agree with each other all the time, and that's really disappointing because disagreeing.
You want to debate.
Disagreeing with each other works fantastically on talk shows. However, I'm also not a fan of these changes at all. So sadly, we're not going to disagree here. But so I'm for self-heal on Ana. I'm actually for nerfs I'm actually down to trade. Like, yes, give me a nerf, I'll take the self-healing, I'm down for that. But the self-healing type is so how do I put this? I don't think it's been thought out properly of when does Ana need self-heal? Because the answer to when Ana needs self-heal is when she's playing against a Chromie and she gets hit by 1W. It's like, well, I can't teamfight, boys. Like, I have to grenade myself for the next 30 seconds. And as soon as you get in that situation, it's not like you can walk up and start attacking the ETC or the Muradin or the Diablo or the Anub or even the Tyrael. Yeah. Like literally none of those heroes is Ana able to attack safely. Like, not a single meta frontliner can Ana attack. And then, okay, so she can't do that. How does she get the strike stacks that heal her? And it's not just like you have to walk up and tag them once in a team fight. You need to stand there for a good 5 seconds, waiting away. And then even then, the actual damage on strike is not even significant. So, the self-healing such a bad method that her main issues of when she wasn't viable against Genji's Greymane, hard dive comps, like Karazim as well, and against poke comps, she's still not viable. And then she probably got worse when she was viable, as Dunk was saying. So I just really dislike this implementation of self-healing, honestly.
What if you gave her a 12-second cooldown baseline ability where she has a syringe to heal herself or something? Would that just be the better
I'm so down for pressing Alt Q or pressing D or pressing 1 or whatever and having my Q on cooldown at 50% extra cost or something, I don't mind what the trade-off is, but some way for Q to heal you. Either if you hit an ally, you get healed, or you can cast it on yourself and 50% more cooldown, or way more mana, or some form of trade-off where you can make the decision to say, yeah, I messed up, I'm gonna have to pay for this, but I can heal myself and still play it like a real hero.
Yeah,
she's the second sniper support where they've built a lot of their sustain into getting successful auto attacks. And do this to Ronda. Ronda's healing is abysmal if she cannot successfully get auto attacks, and she's not meta, right? You like you said,
yeah, no,
you get pressured out. You get pressured out. You
I
can't do anything as Ronda, but at least Ana can still heal her allies. But of course, if the moment that she starts to get focused, like you said, from a Chromie or a Hanzo or whatever, she's boned, and being able to get those auto attacks off is not going to fix that, right?
I mean, you won't be able to get auto attacks off.
Well, exactly.
Get hit by a skill and are at 40% HP now, because that's how much poke heroes do. Well, good luck auto attacking the enemy tank and not instantly dying. Plus, in the situations where you think this might be good, oh, I'm kind of getting pressured by one person in my backline, I'll just have my strike stacks on them and it'll heal me and mitigate their attack. Okay, but in reality, the spell power reduction that you lost from Mind Numbing Agent is way more damage mitigation than
actually, yeah, definitely, especially against Genji.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the other thing is that Strike already does about 50% of what a normal damage ability does, and then she's healing herself for 50% of that. So you're really far down, and it takes around 5 seconds to set up. So Not a fan.
Yeah. Dunk, your cam's frozen. I don't know if you can fix that, but it's. I'm glad they're giving her some attention though, because I think she needs it. I think she's not seen ever really, and I think she's an interesting hero. But obviously,
Okay, hang on. I need to apply to something, Jake. So, Daddy RS in chat brings up basically a good point, which is like it's fine. Anna's just different. You only pick her if they don't have dive and they don't have hard poke. But in that case, don't give her self heal. Like she's fine actually. Like she was still getting picked in Hero League, not in competitive, but like quick match in Hero League, she was still doing fine as a solo healer. It's the fact they gave her self heal specifically to try and make her a viable solo support in general situations, and in my opinion, they've done a very bad job of it. That's like why we're talking about it and why we're so negative. Jake,
Absolutely.
what happened?
Dunk is restarting Skype, so he'll be back eventually.
He doesn't see the call. Oh wait, no, he's here.
Okay,
Hi,
there we
Doc.
go. Hi, my Skype crashed.
You guys swap seats because Skype is awesome, so you guys have changed identities. Congratulations.
Yes,
I always want to be Dunk chained. Dude.
Value.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, I haven't read through all of the different tidbits for Anna. Simply did not have the time today. And is this just all kind of bad? Like, is the base changes you guys obviously mentioned, the pros and the cons that exist here. Is there anything good in your takeaway? Oh,
now Bakery did.
No,
Okay, so I think there is actually a good design decision they made in these changes. So one is Biotic Grenade. They adjusted the functionality so it no longer increases any sources of healing other than Anna's on the target unless you take a talent. Honestly, I don't think Biotic Grenade should ever affect anyone else's healing but Anna. I think it's a really cool thing if they take Biotic Grenade and they make it so it's like the next heal from Anna heals that person for like 100% extra or something. Instead of like the 25% that now doesn't really make sense because why is it 25% instead of a flat amount since it's only Anna, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think there's something cool to be had there, like that combo functionality, because it's such a powerful offensive tool. Adding that, I think, would increase how useful it feels and how much of like a clutch situation it feels like as the healer when you have to use it defensively. But I don't really think any of the other changes matter too much. Like the Nano Boost cooldown is kind of painful. The Eye of Horus stuff is whatever. I don't know.
No, that's fair. I played very little on him. I was like level 6 or something. So like this wasn't something that really stood out to me personally in terms of gameplay changes. Obviously, we'll see what happens if she rises in prominence. In some cases, maybe she will. But she's definitely not going to be support you want to draft early on in your Hero League games based on the sound of it. Nice reworks though. I'm excited about the direction they're going to make these patches all feel a little bit more meaningful every time they do one. It sounds like we're gonna get less patches overall though with the dev QA.
Yeah, so actually that's something we haven't really spoken about, which we probably should because it's been big news all over Reddit. Is they actually announced they're going to really slow down like the schedule of hero releases, and possibly content overall is slowing down, but like what actually is happening for sure is we're going to get like 2 weeks and then like a skin event and like I don't know, like a quest or like portraits or whatever, and then like another 2 weeks and then we'll get some reworks, and then like another 2 weeks and we'll get like some battleground changes, another 2 weeks new hero, stuff like that. Like I'm not sure exactly what the plan looks like. They're still iterating on their process, definitely. But generally to me, I will say my thoughts on it is basically that this seems to be moving into like the third stage of Heroes of the Storm's life cycle. where like you've done release, like you've coasted on that, you've done the big push, you've coasted on that, and now it's like here's the stage where we're going to make this a sustainable thing, and we're going to like take like a lot of focus away from it and just have it run kind of autonomously, for as long as like it will run. So this very much seems to be like before that wasn't sustainable. We're going to make like a sustainable model now, and honestly, there still seems to be a lot of content, and there still seems to be regular hero releases, definitely. So I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they seem to just want to make sure everything's a little bit cleaner too, based on the way they worded it, where they want to have good, refined content coming through, mixing it up. I was under the impression, and I don't think it's confirmed anywhere, that there will be less new heroes this year because those resources are going into meaningful hero updates. They mentioned the fact that they have nearly 80 heroes in the game. That is a good number. Like, there's a common topic in the scene has been, we're ready for a third ban. The fact that the game is
so ready for a third ban.
But the fact that the game has matured to the point where we're ready for a third ban means that there are plenty of heroes, Tyrande, Ana, whoever, Brightwing, that, you know, there's just thinking about supports alone, all those heroes could use some changes in one way or another to make them a little bit more, especially since they've truly squashed double support for the most part. It does exist, you know, in some scenarios, but how do we make Tyrande? You guys know I love talking about Tyrande. How do we make her an appealing choice in those settings? Because they killed her with her rework. And by killed her, I mean they destroyed her. Not killed her in a good way. She's miserable in my opinion nowadays compared to what she was. So go back to the drawing board and fix Tyrande. Thanks, Blizzard. But like that's definitely a big change, because there's a lot of casual players that you know, look forward to just playing the new heroes. They don't necessarily care about the old. They just look forward to the new. But in my opinion, the fact that they're saying the game is mature to this extent, this is better for the diehard player. This is better for the regular, the more Heroes of the Storm big fan. I think will benefit the most from this, because everything will be refined that much more, rather than them killing themselves to push out as much content as possible. They're still going to be busting their asses, because this team puts out insane content. The Heroes of the Storm team, it's crazy. I'm glad to hear that they're kind of refocusing a little bit, because I think that is just going to be really healthy for the game. We do have some patch notes to talk about, though. You know, obviously we'll keep our eyes on, you know, these updates with heroes. But there was another patch from last week where they tried to address some of the powerful things that exist in the meta. Malphil has become the god of the solo lane ever since they just gave him all that clear, loss of last rights play. And they tried to address that a little bit by nerfing his soul rip. They went ahead and I can give you guys a link in the chat to make your life a little bit easier. I'll just put it right in Twitch chat so you guys can follow along. But yeah, so they nerfed the mana cost has gone up on the queue. They've brought the healing down, but they buffed the healing on heroes to maintain his team fight. This is all targeted towards laning nerfs. They also nerfed Die Alone a little bit. They tried to buff Tormented Souls by bringing the cooldown, because no one's picking it anymore. It's all last rights for the most part that I've seen, at least in successful use.
100%.
And I think this is a really good balance patch for him. I don't know if it's gonna nerf his laning too much, because I haven't played that much in the last week, to be honest with you. But I really like the way he targeted this towards early game and early game only, really.
I mean, he was definitely problematically good at the solo lane. Like, it was really disgusting because of how Die Alone got mechanically changed. So he really needed these nerfs. Yeah,
absolutely. He still seems pretty strong.
Yeah.
Like above average, I would say, but probably like you know, tier 1, tier 2 territory, rather than tier, oh my god,
tier S,
which him and my Everwin, who also got nerfed.
Yeah, my
she's still tier 1 though. She's still really scared.
Do you think we'll see? Oh, we haven't talked about Western Clash yet, but do you think we'll see much Maiev at Western?
I have no idea actually how that meta looks like. Yeah. So here's the thing: is like, do the pro players know how to play against her? And is playing against her done via draft, or is playing against her done via playstyle?
Yeah.
So like, those are the three questions, basically. And if the answer is no, they don't to any of them, then there's a very high chance that she's going to be an important pick at Clash.
Mm-hmm.
Based on Open Division for NA and EU, she very rarely makes it through, and when she does, she looks insane. But 90% of the time, she is banned in the first rotation. At least that's true for NA. I saw some clips of her played in EU matches, and it's scary. We're talking about Abathur clones and 2 Maevs just causing havoc. Because she's pretty beastly. But I like that they're taking away from her sustain a little bit, trying to make her a little bit more killable. Took away some health. The 1 second off vault to the Wardens, I think you could still tack on another 3 seconds.
20.
That yeah
20 seconds.
Bring it to 12 next. If that's not enough, bring it to 16. Like adding 1 second, I'm like, come on, guys, this is a ridiculous talent. There's so many abilities that just like don't exist anymore. She's like, no, Pyroblast, cool, man. Nice story.
I really dislike. Oh, I mean, that was the thing that really got me the other day. Is I'm fighting Maiev, okay, as Karathash. She like D's, and I'm like, Pyroblast. This is it. Like, she's going down. She just runs away and then gets up again. Oh my god.
That's the problem. That's the problem, right? There's not even a window to punish, right? It's not there. And a lot of different situations like that. So, but some nice nerfs. She's still really strong. I'm glad they're continuing to tune her, not tuning her too much. Baker, you brought this up as we were setting up. Thrall got 20% more range on the bounce Q, and it seems like a pretty thing. But what was the hot slogs change? So
seriously, I've been saying on my stream, if you guys have been following, I've been like, yeah, guys, I think Thrall is actually kind of sleeper, like really good right now. He's got so much potential. Like, if you get past level 16, you have like all the E talents, and they have double frontline. You're literally just gonna ruin their day. Like, he's very close to being OP. And everyone looked at this change, and like people were laughing at it, dude. Like Reddit, like streamers, they did not care. As it turns out, he's something like 4% or 5% up on hot slugs. He's at a 54% win rate right now. Like, he's actually broken, which is really funny. Because Thrall in a lot of people's minds is still very weak, but he looks really good.
I mean, yeah, Thrall is one of those heroes where I'm like, oh no, I have a Thrall on my team. Like, that's been my experience, man, because he
inefficient solo, inefficient everything.
Yeah, felt bad, but apparently all he needed was a little bounce range.
I mean, the bounce suck, honestly. Like, because it doesn't prioritize heroes, and it no longer like hits anything in Fog of War.
There's a talent for that.
So it's like they needed something like to help him feel better on the bounces. And apparently, as soon as Thrall has a Q button, he's really good.
Yeah, because I mean, giving him continuous buffs though. Like here's 2% damage. Here's this.
Yeah.
Dunk, what were you gonna say, Simon?
Oh, I was gonna say every time Chain Lightning didn't bounce, like the lack of progress on Frostwolf Resilience is like devastating. So that's probably an underappreciated factor of the buff as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like it's very much that he doesn't really have a Q, I think. Like, because the damage is minimal, the range is not very, like, I don't know, it's just so underwhelming as an ability. So it's very much the Frostwolf procs that matter. And as soon as you get a situation where you increase the bounce rates by 20%, when already, you remember, a lot of that radius was under the hero, like, it was covered by the model, so increasing by 20% is a lot more than it actually is. Like effective range, I guess.
That's probably something we don't talk about enough. When like, I don't know if we've ever discussed in ranges how that is like such a meaningful aspect. Would you like to explain what you mean about the ranges, Bakery? Because it's really important, and I don't think enough people understand.
So mathematically, if you take a small radius ability and increase it by 20%, that's less than taking a big radius ability and increasing it by 20%. But in Heroes of the Storm, it actually works differently because all ranges are calculated from the center of the model. So if it's a small radius ability calculated from the center of the model, then actually the ability itself is very small. It's only hitting the edges. When you increase that by 20%, then the effective range gets increased by something like, for example, wait, what's it called? What's lightning shield? Something like lightning shield gets increased by like 200% if you increase it by 20 because of that model size. So yeah, like increasing by 20%, it's much bigger than people think.
Did the stream just die? Twitch chat is freaking out, and I haven't heard Jake.
No, we're live. No,
oh, okay.
It died on their stream. I think we're good.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Baker started talking about math, so I just.
I see.
It slayed me, you know.
Yeah. Totally right.
Anyway.
What Baker said. The actual effective range, 100%, is way more impactful by a small AoE because characters' hitboxes take up a portion of the radius. So yeah.
Well, cool, great.
It's way easier to do with a diagram.
Yes.
MS Paint.
That'll be a segment on the next show where we get diagrams in here for Bakery.
Just pull out a whiteboard behind you, Bakery, and start.
As you can see on the white wall behind.
Yeah.
That would be God tier.
Passion.
Zeratul got some small buffs, just trying to bring him into the meta. Zool, they made him more bruisery. They just tried to put more effective power into him and less into his trait in last week's patch, which is interesting. They just took resources away from the skeletons.
Whose V-work just did not succeed at all.
Zeratul?
Zool. I think we called it on the show. Where Zool's V-work basically didn't change his playstyle whatsoever.
No.
He was really underpowered. They buffed him. He became really OP. Then they nerfed him down to a reasonable level, and he's never seen again.
Yeah,
definitely need some significant changes there, especially now that towers don't have ammo.
I'm glad they're putting more into his base kit and less into his trait, though, because I think that will help him. Like you said, the lack there of ammo is going to make his trait less about the total health and everything. You know, before they were soaking a lot of shots that made it meaningful. So if they're wrapping those stats into his hero, I think, you know, the skeletons are still there. They're still going to help push out lanes. They're still going to hit an enemy hero once in a while, right? It's not like a terrible trait to have without ammo, but it's not what it was. But anyways, glad to see, you know, a little bit of, you know, tuning there. Toronto got a second off light of a loon last week. Hell yeah. No, I mean, that's last week's patch. It's been live for a little while. I'm sure you guys have already played with it plenty and have your own opinions. But I think we just wanted to just touch on just a few snippets from that. As we move forward, we are going to be talking about the Western Clash and basically the first LAN of the year and the first major event for Heroes of the Storm this year. Since this is kind of an esports segment, I do want to briefly just talk about things like Dorm, and I want to give Dunk a moment to talk about Dorm to bring everyone's attention to it. Now, this is your first time being part of this in this capacity as talent, and what are your thoughts on just the whole? It's because it's so different than pro play, right? You got guys barbecuing in the woods. You guys got schools from all over the place and a lot of variety in terms of draft and everything, right? It's all over the place.
It definitely is all over the place, in terms of competition level, especially for the first few weeks, the group stages, which have so we're going into week 4 now of the group stages. So we're going to start seeing more matchups of the teams that are 3-0 or the teams that are 2-1. So they're the more experienced teams, the teams that actually follow HGC. But definitely for the first couple weeks, there's some pretty wild stuff while the Swiss is still getting sorted out. It is fun. It's definitely not the highest level play. You're obviously not going to see these people playing at Western Clash level or anything like that. But I think there is an element of school rivalries bring some flavor, the aspect that it's all collegiate. It's interesting. It's fun. I'm actually having a really good time messing around with it. And as someone who wasn't really interested in Dorm before, from a viewer perspective, I'm kind of surprised how enjoyable it is if you actually get into it a little bit and understand that oh, these two schools basketball team just played and now they're playing in HOTS. yeah, I don't care about basketball, but that's still like a fun aspect that you can't really bring in otherwise, you know?
I think just like the social media engagement you get from like moms and like other students at those schools and stuff like that in those situations is really cool, especially with TESPA and esports being across multiple titles. You have people that might
Yeah.
be part of the Dota club or might be part of like the Smash club or whatever game, you know, they might be part of, also engaging and cheering for those teams, which is not something that's true for anything else in Heroes, which is really cool with Dorm.
Yeah, it's fun. I definitely recommend watching it if you just enjoy watching competitive heroes and don't mind that you're not seeing your, favorite HGC teams, but Dorm is still fun. Definitely recommend watching it. Wednesday, Thursdays at 5 p.m. is our current broadcast schedule.
Have you got to cast Rouge AO yet? It's Rouge ETAU. It's like so ET and then space AU. I think it's French.
No, I have not.
Okay, they're one of
I
our
don't
teams. You Laval. You Laval is their
Wait.
team. Yeah,
Yeah, I've cast them.
you Laval. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about them? How do they look compared to the other dorm teams?
Um,
If you can remember, I know you cast a lot of different teams.
I'm trying to think like relative to other teams and who they played against. They look good. They definitely look good. They're probably in like so I've cast probably like 16 dorm teams now or something. And I would say they're probably like top 3, top 4 of what I've seen.
All right. All right. Hot seat. Compare them to LSU Purple. If you guys don't know who that is, it's Haas, Shot, Hecker MJ, The Winds, and Vicuri.
I think they are probably a little bit behind them.
Really? Okay.
If I had to guess, but I mean, I haven't gotten to cast any of their games, so I know results. I haven't gotten to cast any of LSU's stuff.
I don't think I've cast LSU yet in Open Division this season, but Rouge AO has had a better. They played in Open last week, and I think the week before, and they really showed up. So cool to see. Like, because honestly, we looked at LSU and we're like, okay, this is a dorm team to keep your eyes on right out the gates. And then Rouge were like, who are these guys? When they first showed up. So it's you never know what's going to happen with something like Dorm. It brings people that are just sincerely talented. Maybe they were already gods of their game. Actually, I need to look at the team list so I don't get the names wrong because there's so many names. Nesdip, I believe he's a Grandmaster player from Europe living in Canada. He's just there's some talent there. So we've got some GM players that I've never cast before necessarily making it into these kind of events. While we're talking about Open Division, it is going to be live in an hour and a half. So I'll plug that right now because I'll be casting Cup number 5 tonight live in 1.5 hours at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, as that will be the last Cup before the break for the Western Clash. Spicy stuff. And there's some crazy team changes that happened between last week and this week where the top 2 teams basically exploded. Kona is now teamless, and I forget who else is teamless. 2 players lost their homes, and XD and SMV basically merged. So, a lot of players lost their homes. Jin, I think, is teamless. Like, there's a lot of top players that we're used to seeing this. Prismat is teamless. He is no more, as they had a rough week last week, placing top 8, and the team just imploded immediately. Obviously, I don't have the details behind the scenes, but they dropped 2 players and picked up 2 players. But speaking about the Western Clash, 8 teams, all North American and European teams, will be colliding starting Friday this week. So like 4 days.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
And it's truly just a bracket, a double elimination bracket that goes on for 3 days straight, where it opens up straight up NA versus EU, all 4 games, just North America.
Yeah.
And like in past seasons, we had ANZ and LATAM involved in the Western Clash. They have their own clash where it's basically an offline event for them, but this is gonna be fun. I mean, Bakery, does NA have any chance in any of these matches?
Okay, I think honestly, Team Dignitas should be a 2-0. I think Method Team 12 should be a 2-0. I think Tempo Storm have a real shot. I'm going to say it's 50-50. I'm going to go with them, actually, because, no other NA teams in that good position. And I think Fnatic Team Freedom is about 60-40. So surprisingly, I do think NA could potentially have 2 people in the semi-final. And by extension, NA could have a team in a final.
When's the last time that happened, Dunk Train?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I'll tell you that. I definitely agree with Bakery's assessment. Like, I think top side of the bracket should be pretty one-sided, and then Tempo, Zealots, I think, is the best shot for NA to advance a team in the first round.
Yeah, definitely. Heroes Hearth. Gonna have to pull out that spicy Arthlon Asmodee cheese if they want to try to make something happen here. Diglets.
Didn't go too well last time, and they tried that.
Yeah, I mean, unless anyone thinks that like Dig is like legitimately weakened in some manner because of like losing their last match of league play, but like that's not something I put much stock in personally. Like, it's last match of the league. In my opinion, like that's not something that they care about a lot anymore. So I think if you're expecting Dig to not look as good as they did the whole HGC season up to the last match going to this, I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm going down the same line of thinking. So I'm actually, people might be surprised to hear this, I'm not actually very connected to the team right now. So, sometimes like I hang out with them, sometimes I like can watch their games and stuff, but they've actually been boot camping. So I have no idea how they've been doing since the Zealots game. I've literally no inside info here. So this is me speaking independently of Team Dignitas, but my thinking is that the Zealots loss hit them pretty hard, and there's kind of 2 directions that goes, is to like, oh my god, I can't believe we messed up. This is not going to happen again. Like, we're back. Like, we're going full speed at this.
Snooze tweeted that like almost immediately after the.
Yeah, definitely. Or it's like, oh my god, I can't believe we let this happen, and they actually don't recover in time, and they take it really hard and like lose a lot of momentum because of that. So like it could be either way, but I think it's about like 75-25 that it's going to be. Yeah, okay, that's a blip. We're back to how we look the rest of the season.
It's almost like just that wake up call. Like, no, we can't slip up. We need to be the best. Like, we lit our guard down for 2 seconds. That one jab connected on our chin. Not again. Like, whatever. That's how I read the tweet as like, no, we're better than this. We're not losing to anyone.
Yeah, I think for me, I think there's a real chance that Dig wins this entire event. So I think the chance that Dig wins the ententire event without dropping a game,
I agree,
is more likely than Dig not winning the event.
I agree, actually. 100%. I think they can sweep this tournament clean, based on what we've seen, and especially
it's also a LAN with Team Dignitas,
right?
So.
Yeah, that's where they.
And it's Katowice, where they've won the past 2 years.
You say they,
but they don't.
You can say we. Anymore, you can say we in that setting. You can say we.
Yeah, actually, we're talking about the past. We won the past 2 years at Katowice.
But now you're just Mr. Dignitas. You're all over the place. Every Dignitas title, every esport they're involved, you are involved.
Actually, I am. Yeah, I recently won a world championship.
Fact. Well, there's not a lot else to say except to go down the line and make our predictions. We've already said Dignitas will beat Heroes Hearth. We know that. Team 12 Method. Where do you think this one stands? Because you guys said Tempo over Zealots. We can consider though, like Tempo has a chance over Zealots, but Team 12 Method. How close do you think that series will be?
By the way, Dunk Train, you go ham on this. I feel like I've already gone down it and given my predictions. So.
Yeah, I totally think it's 2-0 Method over Team 12. Like, I don't really expect that much from Team 12 on the international stage here. like also Method has home field advantage. Plus, I think EU is a stronger field. Plus, Method I think is performed better the whole time. So I don't think this one is super likely for Team 12 to win. It's probably like an 80-20 maybe, 75-25.
Jake, take a screenshot and draw on it with MS Paint.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Carry on, Doctor. Yeah,
Screenshot of what?
The bracket.
Oh,
So
I
that
see.
we can write in like who's going where.
Yeah. All right, and then Tempo Storm Zealots. I think 50-50. Is that what you said about this one, Bakery?
Yeah, I actually did say 50-50.
Oh, I think I'd even go
This is so hard
60-40
to
Zealots.
write.
I think I'd go 60-40 Zealots there. I think it's probably a 2-1 for Zealots in that match, and then I think Fnatic 2-0's Team Freedom
Okay.
on the international stage. I think the NA teams on unfamiliar ground plus historical difficulties against EU teams plus
It wasn't supposed to be Zealots.
like how strong the EU teams look.
I don't know what Jake's doing while we're talking. I feel like he's messing things up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Watching
anyway.
Jake try to write with MS Paint is now one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Okay. Anyway, I think honestly the top half really can't die. But honestly, like I think Freedom have a real shot. Like I don't think Fnatic has been very clean at all.
Mm-mm. I mean, I don't think they've been clean, but I also think EU is generally stronger and Fnatic placed better, and I don't know.
So here's the thing, though, right? Is the fact that Dig can spend, it was some crazy stat, like Dig spent under 40 minutes, like in game against Fnatic in their series.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not even remotely close. I think Fnatic, Fnatic got one tower the entire series. Like not a single full wall did they even break. Like this was absolute domination. The fact that Dignitas are that far ahead, in my opinion, has to mean that the rest of EU is messing up, and is weaker than they should be.
Weaker than they should be, yes, sure, but like,
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like maybe I'm drinking a bit too much NA Kool-Aid, but this is the closest event that NA has been ever. And at BlizzCon, right, where NA, in my opinion, were still further behind than they are now. Like, Team Freedom went 2-1 against Fnatic, and they could have won if they played better. And Tempo Storm probably couldn't have won, but they also went 2-1, and they had a dominant game against Fnatic.
Yeah, I could like. Okay, this matchup is definitely not impossible like the Dig Heroes Earth matchup. Don't get me wrong. It's not impossible. I think it's probably a 2-1, whoever wins, but I think it's probably like a 60-40 Fnatic favor, 70-30-ish. Like, I think EU is probably a little stronger overall than NA than you were mentioning, so I think it's probably closer to a 70-30 than a 60-40, but either way, like, it could happen, and I wouldn't be, like, completely mind-blown, for example.
Who lives at SpaceX?
I think that was a garbage truck by my house.
Okay.
That was the garbage truck coming to pick up the NA teams after Katowice.
Damn.
Nah, probably won't be that bad, honestly. I agree with Bakery. I think NA is probably closer to EU than it has been previously at this event.
I hope so. I hope it's going to be a good event where we see close games. That's all we can ask for. It is a double elimination bracket throughout, basically standard format. It is best of ones in the first round. I assume they're going to open day one with just the 4 matches, and then the 2 semifinals, probably 6 matches total, probably on a longer day. I haven't looked at the actual schedule. It's probably there. And then it's best of 3 in the lower bracket round 1 as well. Best of 5s from out. It is a best of 7 final. And that is I assume it's with advantage.
Yeah, so 1 game when it's advantage.
With advantage.
I still dislike that. Still really dislike that.
I think it's really bad if you do it in a best of 5. I think with a best of 7, it is your only option because there has to be an advantage. And frankly, a best of 7 series, this brings the variable down a little bit, where the max number of games theoretically should be less, because best of sevens can take 4+ hours in Heroes of the Storm, like easy. And
whoever comes from the lower bracket also has played 3 matches that day before, like 2, and then their best of 7. So that's pretty gnarly.
Just saying, Dig had the classic 13-hour day where we won the Western Clash last year. So
yeah, I kind of beat that.
Yeah,
that
we
was brutal. That was brutal, and it's not an easy thing to do. Wait, Sunday is no.
What?
Sunday's a long day, dude.
Yeah, Sunday's really long.
Yeah,
winners, losers semi, losers finals, and grand.
Yeah.
3 best of 5s and a best of 7. That is.
Yeah. That's a long broadcast day, dude.
Holy crap. That's intense. Well, the Western Clash is days away this coming weekend. It will be going down with Freedom Fanatics, Zealots, Tempo Storm, Team 12, Method, Dignitas, and Heroes Sarth, NA versus EU for the 8 teams. Eastern Clash is right around the corner, as well as they're all in playoffs for China. I was watching a little bit of that this morning. So, hashtag DigWin, says Bakery. Naturally, there's a lot going on with the game and all the changes that we talked about today. Maybe we'll get the new announcement of Deckard Cain this coming weekend. I don't know, but as you guys might have noticed, this is our first episode of Town Hall we've had in many weeks. It's been a solid 3 weeks, and that's not for lack of trying. It's frankly been difficult to get everyone together, and we kind of mentioned at the start of the show. We are all very busy with a lot of different things going on right now, and frankly, we're not going to be able to execute a good 100% show every single week at this current point in time. It's just not something that we can do, especially with the content flow of the game changing, where the patches are going to be a little bit less frequent by the sound of it, and the content's going to be a little bit less frequent. We are going to be shifting gears to cover the show when the meaningful events are happening. So we're no longer going to be a weekly podcast. We are going to gear up to cover the actual big matches and results of tournaments when they occur, and the big patches and the balance changes on the game when they occur. This should also give us the capacity to more consistently get guests, but I cannot make any promises in that regard, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our show, when it exists, every episode is meaningful. I feel like we've had many episodes throughout the history of this show where the episode didn't really have a lot of content. And I know you guys love to sit down and listen to us banter about whatever every week. I've been doing this for about 4 years now. But I mean, there's just a lot going on, and we want to tune Town Hall into a show that's always going to be, each episode is spicy with lots of good info, good discussion, and really just refine it rather than just push out a butt ton of content.
Yeah, definitely echoed on my front. I think the shows that have always been really exciting for me is when we get a big, meaty discussion topic, double support coming up, armor changes, a big patch where there's 20 heroes that got changes, or a really exciting new hero. And to me, that's always the shows where everyone has a good time, everyone in chat's really enjoying it. We get really low negative feedback, almost none. And there's just been a lot of shows where it's we spend 2 hours and we don't get that many viewers, no one really had a great time. We didn't really have a great time that show. So honestly, I'm actually really excited. Every time we do Town Hall, it's gonna be sick, honestly, because we're only gonna do it if there's real discussion to be had.
Right.
Totally agree. No more anime filler episodes, basically.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. Schedules get more constricted. Everyone's doing a lot more stuff now. And yeah, I always look forward to the passionate discussion, have a blast. So good stuff, man.
And yeah, I mean, to be clear, guys, the show's not dying. It's gonna exist in a refined capacity, step moving forward. We're all still very involved in other things. Dunk's gonna be doing Dorm consistently for like another 5 weeks. Bakery's very busy with all his new roles and responsibilities at Dignitas, especially since Dig just fired like 3 higher ups. That's public news. But I would imagine that brings workload down onto you, but I don't actually know your exact responsibilities. I'm just spitballing or whatever. And I'm actively looking to do new things. I've done this show for a long time. By refining the show, it allows me to consider creating content in other games. And this is, I just want to like announce this right now. It's something that I'm eager to do. I'm actively applying for jobs within the esports space, trying to find stability and find more projects to work on. Straight up, Arcane 8 was something I set out to do in 2017, where frankly, I mean, I'm going to keep this really short. Don't think this is going to be a long ramble. Frankly, I just didn't really think it through. All I want to do is create meaningful content. At the end of the day, I want to create shows or tournaments or cool things that people like to watch. That is what makes me happy. That is what I want to do. And I don't want to do the business side of things. I don't want to balance checkbooks and like work on these huge sponsor proposals. And, you know, I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. Arcane 8 failed to get sponsors for Bloodlust. And clearly that's because at the end of the day, it's just me. And I don't really know what I'm doing running a business. I simply don't. I know how to make a show look good. I know how to produce a show, and I know how to execute a show. That's my skill set. It is not running a business. So Arcane 8 is kind of in this limbo. It's still going to exist, obviously, in the capacity of creating content. But I'm going to be putting a lot more focus on Solid Jake. I'm going to be making content for games that I'm interested in, games that I think look really cool and I want to be involved in. And currently, my journey is learning Warcraft 3 because it's getting a big patch update in 1920p. They're literally balancing the game for the first time in 15 years, and I've never learned Warcraft 3 in my entire life. I know tons about StarCraft, literally every Blizzard esport, but I'm so excited to basically gain that new skill in Warcraft 3. And that's one of the things that I'm looking at as the next step. Learning Warcraft 3, creating some content covering the history of the game. And I've already started writing all kinds of different episodes for a new show for it. It's not a podcast, it's a history show. It's documentary-esque type content. But to me, that's something that's really cool. Stop saying Rip TownHall. It is not Rip TownHall. Chat. And it's gonna be an interesting future for me, I hope. But that's my shout outs. Tune into Open Division in exactly 1 hour. I'll be casting with Haloran this week as Kala is on his way to Europe land. Dunkus, your turn for the shoutouts.
You can catch me on Heroes of the Dorm on the Blizz Heroes channel in 48 hours from now. So basically Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Make sure to come check it out. It's a good time. Highly recommend. You can also catch me on Twitter and yeah, on my stream, twitch.tv/DunkTrain.
Yo, I forgot to mention this. I know we're closing out. I finally started Slay the Spire. I got a win on my third attempt, but then like I was like, people are saying you're beating on like 15x difficulty. I'm like, yo, I got to get to that dunk level. I got to get there.
Dude, it's fun. I have basically run. I think that game has pretty much run its course for me. Like, I beat the hardest difficulties that are out right now. I have 150 hours on it, and I'm like, I'm good. Okay. I very much enjoyed that game. It was a 10 cent an hour, very enjoyable experience. So highly recommend.
The young baker himself. Will you bake me a cake?
No. Anyway, so shout outs to Team Dignitas, obviously, and yeah, all that great stuff. All sponsors. Woo! Shout outs to all of you guys for watching.
So creative.
So I know that you know, like we are going to be doing less shows, but honestly, I think it's going to be better content. It's going to be better for you guys in the long run. And this is the perfect opportunity to follow us on Twitter at TownHall Heroes, or indeed all of us individually to keep up to date with when there will be shows. This does obviously mean we're doing like Reddit threads and stuff as well. And like I guess we'll have like time for viewer questions and all that fun stuff. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys are really going to enjoy like the next phase of Town Hall. Follow me on Twitter at Bakery Heroes, or on Twitch, which is Bakery.
That is a great point. We will do our best to announce ahead of time when there's an episode, if it's in our ability to do so. Naturally, if the patch comes out on a Tuesday, we can't necessarily always form and get that show ready for the day after based on our other obligations that are starting to become more prominent. But we will absolutely have that show, whether it's 7 or 8 days later. It's going to happen, and we'll do our best to announce it as soon as we can. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you for episode 172 soon. GG's. Welcome here to Town Hall Heroes.